Hello everyone, my name is Second Wind and welcome back to Second Wind Tales. Every story on this channel is made to help you become mentally stronger, emotionally wiser, and better at choosing where to spend your strength. Today's story is called 90 Feet. Before we begin, I'm going to tell you two things. Hold on to both of them because everything in this story hangs off them. The first is a number, 90. The second is a box. So let's begin. On the cliffs at Coran Head, there was a stone house, and in front of that house, there was a lawn. And at the end of that lawn, the land simply stopped and dropped 80 feet into the sea. The distance from the front door to the edge was 90 feet. The sea at Coran Head takes about 3 feet of that cliff a year. Some years 1, some years 9 if the winter is bad. It has been doing this since before anybody was writing anything down, and it will do it long after all of us are finished. That is the first thing. Here's the second. Under the third floorboard from the hearth in that house, there is a small tin box. It has been there a long time. Kade Morrow, who owns the house, does not know it exists. He will not open it for 19 years, and when he does, this story ends. Kade was 33. His wife was Sina. Their son Tobin was 6. The house had been his father's and his grandfather's before that, and Kade loved it the way you love a thing you did not choose. In his first year there, his neighbor Talia Brask took her family inland. She sold up, bought 2 fields and a barn a mile back from the cliff, and started again. And I want you to know what people said about her, because it matters. They said she had given up. They said she panicked. Her own brother did not speak to her for a year. Kade Morrow was one of the people who said it. 90 feet. In his 3rd year, Kade built a groyne. He put it in himself over one summer, timber piles driven into the shingle, running out from the base of the cliff below his land, to catch the sand moving along the coast and build the beach back up. And it worked. That is the part nobody tells you about fighting things you cannot win. Sometimes the first move works. His beach grew 2 feet in a season. He stood on the cliff that autumn feeling like a man who had solved something. 4 years later, a farm half a mile down the coast lost 11 feet in one winter because his groyne had been catching sand that used to travel to them. They came to see him about it. It was not a friendly conversation. 78 feet. In his 6th year, he built the seawall, concrete at the base of the cliff, 40 feet long. It took every coin they had saved and then some. Sina agreed to it. I want to be fair to him about that, she agreed, though she asked him one question first, which was whether he had spoken to anybody who had built one. He said he had. He had not. It stood for 2 winters, and it looked magnificent. And what a seawall does, if it is not built exactly right, is send the wave energy down into the shingle at its own foot and scour the beach out from underneath itself. It went in a single night in March. Sina heard it from the bedroom. A sound, she said afterwards, was like a cart falling downstairs over and over for about a minute. In the morning, there was concrete on the beach and 11 feet less cliff than there had been at supper. 61 feet. I said, hold on to the box. Here's a moment I want you to see. 2 months after the wall went, Kade was on his knees in the front room lifting boards to check for damp, because everything in that house had shifted. He got the first board up. He got the second up. Somebody knocked at the door. He put the boards back and answered it. He never went back to the third one. 61 feet and 19 inches of floorboard between Kade Morrow and the rest of his life. The next years were the worst ones, and they were also the quietest. He remortgaged. He sold his father's boat. He took work in the town on top of his own, and came home too tired to speak. And in the 11th year he did the thing he could never afterwards explain, which was that he took the money that had been set aside for Tobin's apprenticeship, 16 years of small deposits, and he spent it on rock armor. 40 tons of granite boulders tipped at the cliff foot. He told Tobin it was for 2 years. It was never going to be for 2 years. Tobin was 16. He did not shout. He said, all right, Dad, and went to work at the yard instead, and that was that. 44 feet. Talia Brask, meanwhile, a mile inland, had a working farm, 2 more barns, and a son at a trade school. People had stopped saying she gave up. Mostly they had stopped mentioning her at all, which is what happens to people who turn out to have been right. By the 15th year, Kade was going down the cliff path most evenings just to look at it. Sana said one thing to him in the whole of that decade. She said it in the kitchen, without heat, on an ordinary evening. You have been fighting for 15 years, and it has never once moved backwards. He said, it's slower than it was. She said, Kade, it has never moved backwards. 22 feet. In the 19th year, the winter was very bad, and by March, there were 11 feet between the front door and the edge. 11 feet. You could stand in the doorway and throw a stone into the sea underarm. The house had to come down. Not by choice. The surveyor would not let anybody sleep in it. And Kade Morrow, 52 years old, went in with a bar to lift the floorboards, because good timber is good timber and he was not going to waste it. First board, second board, third board. The tin box was about the size of 2 hands. Inside it were 3 folded papers, and they were all the same kind of document, and they were in 3 different handwritings. The oldest was his grandfather's. A column of dates and a column of measurements, 40 years of them, starting at a number Kade had to read 3 times, 210 feet. Under that, in a different hand, his father's, 31 years of dates, starting at 140. Under that, blank paper folded and put in ready for whoever came next. His grandfather had built a groyne. There were sketches. His father had built a wall. There were costings and a note in the margin about scouring at the foot, which is the exact thing that destroyed Kade's. 3 men, 3 generations, each one certain he was the first to think of it, each one telling nobody, because you do not tell people you are losing. And in 90 years, between the 3 of them, they had spent everything they had, and the sea had taken 199 feet regardless. Kade sat on that floor for a long time, and what broke him was not the measurements. It was the 3rd sheet, the blank one, folded, put in ready, because his father had known there would be another one, and had set the paper out for him and had never once warned him. Here is what he did, and it is the reason I wanted to tell you this story. He did not give up. He did not walk away. He did not stand on the cliff and make peace with the sea. He moved the house, stone by numbered stone, half a mile inland, onto a piece of ground that Talia Brask sold him at a price she never discussed with anybody. It took him and Tobin 4 years. The lintels went up in the same order. The hearth went back in the same relationship to the door. The same house, not on the cliff. He put the tin box back under the 3rd board, and he put his own paper in it. And on his own paper he wrote 1 line, which is the only thing in that box that is not a measurement. The sea took the old plot 4 years after they finished. Kade watched it go from a mile inland with a cup of tea in his hand and, he said, felt almost nothing at all. Tobin was 40 when his father died, and he had the yard by then, and his own house, and he had the yard by then and his own house, and he was the one who read that line out. It said, you cannot move the sea, move the house. So let me ask you something. What are you fighting that has never once moved backwards? Not something difficult, something immovable. A person who will not change, a decision that has already been made, a body that is a certain age, a thing that happened. And be honest with yourself. How many years, and how much of what you had, and has it moved even once? Here's the one thing you can do with this. Write down the thing you are fighting. Then underneath it, write 1 question. What here can actually move? There is always something. It is almost never the thing you have been pushing against. It is usually smaller, closer, and much less satisfying, and it is the only place your strength is going to do anything at all. Acceptance is not surrender. Kade Morrow did not surrender. He took 19 years of effort and pointed it at the one thing in the situation that could be moved. Because you cannot move the sea, you can move the house. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who may need to hear it, and subscribe to Second Wind Tales for more meaningful stories about hope, courage, and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.